The sun rose over the sleepy town of Maplewood, casting a golden hue across the quaint station. It was a morning like any other, but for Jenny, today felt different. She stood on the platform, clutching her worn leather backpack, her heart racing with anticipation. This was not just any train journey. It was the beginning of an adventure she had dreamed of for years. Jenny had always been captivated by stories of explorers and distant lands, but this trip was special. The train she was about to board, the Midnight Express, was known for its enchanting routes through the lush valleys and rugged mountains of the region. It promised not just breathtaking views, but encounters with intriguing strangers and the possibility of uncovering hidden secrets. As the clock struck 8, the sound of the train's whistle echoed through the air, shaking Jenny from her thoughts. The Midnight Express, a magnificent steam locomotive, rolled into the station with a billowing cloud of smoke, its vibrant red and gold colors gleaming in the sunlight. She felt a surge of excitement as she stepped aboard, the warmth of the wooden interior welcoming her. Finding her seat by the window, Jenny settled in and gazed out as the last few passengers boarded. Among them was an elderly man with a twinkle in his eye, a young couple sharing whispered secrets, and a boy with a sketchbook who looked as if he could capture the world in a single stroke. Each of them seemed to carry their own story, their own purpose for being on this train. As the train lurched forward and began to chug away from the station, Jenny felt a sense of freedom wash over her. The landscape transformed into a blur of green fields and rolling hills, and with each passing mile, she left behind her everyday worries. The rhythmic sound of the wheels on the tracks became a soothing melody, lulling her into a state of blissful anticipation. Suddenly, a loud clatter jolted her from her reverie. A suitcase had tumbled from an overhead rack, landing with a thud on the floor. The elderly man hurried to pick it up, and Jenny rushed to help him. As they exchanged smiles, he introduced himself as Mr. Ellis, a retired railway conductor with countless tales of the tracks. Their conversation sparked an instant connection, and Jenny found herself drawn to his stories of the train's history and the adventures he had experienced. Just as they settled into an engaging discussion, the train entered a dark tunnel, plunging them into an unexpected twilight. The lights flickered and then steadied, casting shadows across the carriage. A sense of mystery filled the air, and Jenny could feel the thrill of the unknown creeping into her bones. As they emerged from the tunnel, the landscape opened up into a stunning vista of mountains cloaked in mist, and Jenny's excitement grew. The Midnight Express was more than just a train. It was a vessel of possibility, and Jenny was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. Little did she know that this journey would lead her into a world of unexpected challenges, thrilling encounters, and the kind of adventure that would change her life forever. As the train sped on, Jenny's heart raced not just with the thrill of travel, but with the promise of discovery, for she knew that every twist, and turn held a story waiting to be unveiled. As the Midnight Express wound its way through the breathtaking landscape, Jenny lost herself in the views outside her window. The mountains loomed majestically, their peaks dusted with snow, while valleys below were lush with emerald green. She could hardly believe that this was her reality. It felt like stepping into a painting. With her curiosity piqued, Jenny glanced around the carriage. Mr. Ellis was animatedly sharing stories with a few other passengers, his voice carrying tales of daring rescues and lost treasures from his years on the railway. The young couple nearby were now sharing a sandwich, their laughter bubbling over, while the boy with the sketchbook was intently focused, capturing the scenery with quick strokes of his pencil. Feeling adventurous, Jenny decided to explore the train. She stood up and made her way to the dining car, hoping for a cup of tea and perhaps a snack. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, mingling with the sweet scent of pastries. As she entered, she spotted a small table by the window, where a woman sat alone, her brow furrowed in concentration, as she scribbled in a notebook. The woman looked up as Jenny approached. "Mind if I join you?" Jenny asked, a friendly smile on her face. "Not at all," the woman replied, gesturing to the empty seat. "I'm Sarah. I'm a travel writer, documenting my journey." "Nice to meet you." "I'm Jenny," she said, settling into the chair. "I'm just starting my adventure." "Ah, the thrill of the unknown," Sarah said with a glint in her eye. "What's your story?" Jenny shared her reasons for taking the trip, her yearning for adventure and escape from the monotony of everyday life. Sarah listened intently, nodding in understanding. "There's something magical about trains. They connect places and people in ways that cars and planes just can't." As they chatted, Jenny learned that Sarah had traveled all over the world, from bustling cities to remote villages. She spoke passionately about the hidden gems she had discovered along the way. Intrigued, Jenny asked, "What's been your most memorable adventure?" Sarah's eyes sparkled as she recounted a story about getting lost in a tiny village in Italy, where the locals had taken her in and shown her their traditions. "It was the kindness of strangers that made it unforgettable," she said, her voice warm with nostalgia. Just then, the train jolted slightly, and Jenny's attention shifted to the window. A group of wild horses galloped alongside the train, their manes flowing in the wind. "Look!" she exclaimed, pointing excitedly. The horses raced beside them, their energy almost palpable. As Sarah turned to see, a loud bang echoed through the carriage, followed by an abrupt halt. The lights flickered and then dimmed, and murmurs of confusion filled the air. "What's happening?" Jenny asked, her heart racing. "Looks like we might have a delay," Sarah said, her tone calm but concerned. "Let's find out what's going on." The two women quickly exited the dining car and made their way toward the front of the train, where passengers had gathered. Mr. Ellis was there, animatedly speaking with the conductor, who looked frazzled. "We've hit a fallen tree on the tracks," the conductor announced. "We'll need to clear it before we can continue." Jenny exchanged worried glances with Sarah. "Do you think it will take long?" she asked. "Hard to say," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "But this could be an opportunity to explore." Jenny's heart raced at the thought of adventure even in a delay. "Let's go take a look," she suggested, her excitement bubbling over. As they stepped off the train, the fresh mountain air hit them, invigorating and crisp. The landscape was a mix of deep greens and earthy browns, the remnants of the forest stretching out before them. As they walked toward the area where the tree had fallen, they couldn't help but feel the thrill of the unexpected. This was only the beginning, Jenny thought, a sense of anticipation building within her. Little did she know, the challenge ahead would test their resourcefulness and forge new friendships in ways she never expected. Jenny and Sarah stepped off the train, the cool mountain air filling their lungs as they ventured toward the front of the locomotive. The vibrant sounds of nature surrounded them, the rustle of leaves, the distant chirping of birds, and the soft murmur of a nearby stream. The scene felt almost like a dream, a stark contrast to the confines of the train. As they approached the fallen tree, they found a small group of passengers gathered, watching as the conductor assessed the situation. The massive trunk lay across the tracks, its roots exposed and earth scattered around. The conductor, a middle-aged man with a weathered face, was consulting with two other crew members. "Looks like it'll take some time to clear," he announced, scratching his head. "But we can make the most of it. I suggest anyone interested in exploring the area to do so. Just stay close to the train." Jenny exchanged an excited glance with Sarah. "This is perfect. Let's explore," she said, her enthusiasm bubbling over. As they wandered away from the train, they stumbled upon a narrow trail that wound through the trees. "Let's see where this leads," Sarah suggested, her writer's curiosity ignited. Jenny nodded eagerly, feeling a rush of exhilaration at the prospect of adventure. The path meandered through the forest, sunlight filtering through the leaves above, creating a dappled effect on the ground. They walked in companionable silence, the beauty of their surroundings enveloping them. Wildflowers peeked through the underbrush, and the air was fragrant with the scent of pine and fresh earth. After a while, they came across a clearing with a stunning view of the valley below. A crystal-clear stream snaked through the landscape, glistening in the sunlight. "This is breathtaking," Jenny said, her voice filled with awe. "Nature has a way of inspiring," Sarah replied, taking out her notebook. "I need to capture this moment." As Sarah began to write, Jenny wandered closer to the stream, mesmerized by the gentle flow of water. She knelt down to dip her fingers in, feeling the coolness refresh her spirit. Just then, she spotted something shiny beneath the surface. Curiosity piqued. She leaned closer. "Sarah, come here," Jenny called, excitement dancing in her voice. Sarah rushed over. Her notebook forgotten. "What is it?" she asked, peering into the water. "There's something down there," Jenny said, pointing. "It looks like a locket." With a determined look, Jenny rolled up her sleeves and carefully reached into the stream. The water was chilly, sending shivers up her arms as she fished around for the object. After a moment, her fingers closed around it, and she pulled it out triumphantly. It was indeed a locket, ornate and covered in intricate designs, with a hint of gold gleaming in the sunlight. "Wow, that's beautiful," Sarah exclaimed, taking the locket in her hands. "It must have a story." As they examined the locket, they noticed it was slightly ajar. "Should we open it?" Jenny asked, a thrill of mischief in her voice. "Why not?" Sarah replied, her eyes sparkling with intrigue. With a gentle nudge, they opened the locket to reveal a small, faded photograph inside. A young woman with a bright smile, framed by wildflowers. On the other side, an inscription read, "Forever in my heart, Anna." "This must belong to someone who lost it," Jenny said softly, her heart tugged by the mystery. "We should try to find its owner." "Absolutely," Sarah agreed, her writer's instincts kicking in. "It could lead us to a wonderful story." Just then, a voice broke through their moment of contemplation. "What have you found?" It was Mr. Ellis, who had wandered away from the group. His eyes widened as they showed him the locket. "Ah, the legend of Anna. It's said that she lived in these parts many years ago," he said, his tone filled with wonder. "Some believe she left behind treasures for those who find them." Jenny and Sarah exchanged excited glances. "Then we have to find out more," Jenny exclaimed, with renewed purpose. The trio made their way back toward the train, their minds racing with possibilities. They approached the gathered passengers, eager to share their discovery. "Has anyone ever heard of Anna?" Sarah called out, holding up the locket. The group quieted, curiosity piqued. An elderly woman stepped forward, her eyes lighting up. "Oh, Anna. I remember the stories. She was a beloved figure around here, known for her kindness and adventurous spirit." As the woman began to recount tales of Anna's escapades, Jenny felt a sense of connection growing among the passengers. They were no longer just strangers on a train. They were a community brought together by the promise of adventure and the mystery of the locket. Little did they know, the journey was about to take an unexpected turn, leading them deeper into the heart of the mountains, and into a story that was waiting to be uncovered. The excitement in the air was palpable as the elderly woman shared stories of Anna, her voice weaving a tapestry of intrigue. She was known for her kindness, but also for her adventurous spirit. It's said that she hid treasures in the mountains for those brave enough to seek them. Jenny's heart raced with anticipation. "Do you know where we might find them?" she asked, leaning forward. The woman chuckled softly. "The legends speak of a hidden path that leads to a cave, but few have managed to find it. They say it's protected by the spirits of the mountains." "Spirits?" Jenny echoed, her imagination ignited. "Yes," the woman continued. "But more importantly, it requires a pure heart and a sense of adventure. If you seek the treasures, you must also be willing to respect the land." Mr. Ellis chimed in. "I remember some old maps that might lead to the cave. I could help you find it, if you'd like." Jenny and Sarah exchanged excited glances. "We'd love that," Sarah said, her writer's instinct kicking in once more. This could be the adventure we were hoping for. As the group discussed plans, the conductor approached, wiping sweat from his brow. "We're still working to clear the fallen tree, but it may take some time. If you wish to explore, I suggest doing it now." "Perfect timing," Jenny said, her enthusiasm infectious. "Let's find that hidden path." With a small group forming around them, including Mr. Ellis, Sarah, and a few curious passengers, they set off into the woods, the air buzzing with excitement and the promise of discovery. Following Mr. Ellis, they navigated through the trees, the sun casting playful shadows along the trail. After a short hike, they reached a fork in the path. "This is where the maps come in handy," Mr. Ellis said, pulling out a weathered piece of paper. "If I remember correctly, the right path leads us closer to the cave." As they proceeded, the trail became narrower, and the air felt charged with anticipation. The trees thickened, their branches creating a natural canopy overhead. Jenny could almost feel the spirit of adventure surrounding them, urging them onward. Suddenly, the path opened up into a small clearing. In the center stood an ancient oak tree, its gnarled branches stretching toward the sky. The trunk was wide and hollowed out at its base, creating a perfect hideaway. "Legend has it that this tree is a guardian," Mr. Ellis explained. "It's said to protect the entrance to the cave." Jenny approached the tree, feeling a sense of reverence. "Do you think the entrance is here?" she asked, glancing around. Just then, Sarah noticed something glimmering among the roots. "Look!" she exclaimed, kneeling down to examine it. As she brushed away the leaves and dirt, they revealed a small, ornate key. Could this be the key to Anna's treasure? Jenny wondered aloud, excitement bubbling within her. "It very well might be," Mr. Ellis replied, his eyes shining with intrigue. We should keep it safe. With the key in hand, they continued their search, the thrill of discovery guiding them deeper into the woods. The atmosphere shifted. It felt like they were stepping into another world, one filled with mystery and the echoes of the past. After what felt like an eternity of exploring, they finally spotted a rocky outcrop in the distance. That looks like a cave, Jenny shouted, pointing excitedly. As they approached, the mouth of the cave yawned before them, dark and inviting. We should be careful, Sarah cautioned. Who knows what's inside? With a nod of agreement, they gathered their courage and stepped inside. The air was cool and damp, and the sound of dripping water echoed softly. Jenny felt a mix of fear and exhilaration as they ventured further into the cave, the darkness enveloping them. With the help of their flashlights, they illuminated the walls, revealing intricate carvings that seemed to tell stories of the past. These must be ancient, Mr. Ellis murmured, tracing his fingers over the designs. Maybe they're connected to Anna, Sarah suggested, her writer's mind racing with ideas. As they continued deeper, the cave opened up into a larger chamber. In the center, they found a stone pedestal, and atop it sat a small chest, weathered but adorned with beautiful carvings. Jenny's heart raced. Is this it? She whispered, stepping closer. Mr. Ellis examined the chest. It certainly looks like it could be. But we need the key. With trembling hands, Jenny took the ornate key from her pocket, its weight feeling significant. As she inserted it into the lock, a sense of destiny washed over her. With a gentle turn, the lock clicked open, and they held their breath as she lifted the lid. Inside, nestled among soft velvet, were beautiful trinkets, rings, necklaces, and other treasures, each sparkling with stories untold. Jenny's eyes widened in disbelief. We found it. Anna's treasure. As the group gasped in awe, a sense of accomplishment enveloped them. But just as they were about to celebrate, a sudden rumble echoed through the cave, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. What was that? Sarah exclaimed, fear creeping into her voice. Maybe we should head back, Mr. Ellis suggested urgently. Jenny felt a rush of adrenaline. They had uncovered Anna's treasure, but now they faced a new challenge, escaping the cave before it became their tomb. Panic surged through the group as the cave trembled again, dust cascading from the ceiling like confetti. We need to move now, Mr. Ellis urged, his voice firm but calm. Jenny quickly closed the chest, knowing they could return for the treasures later. She felt a strange mix of reluctance and urgency. They had come so far, but now survival was paramount. Follow me, she shouted, leading the way back through the winding passages of the cave, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. The echoes of their footsteps were drowned out by the ominous rumbling that seemed to grow louder with every step. As they navigated the rocky terrain, the group huddled together, adrenaline propelling them forward. They took the same path they had entered, but the way felt different now, darker and more foreboding. "We should have marked the way," Sarah gasped, glancing back nervously. "We'll find our way," Jenny reassured her, though her heart raced with uncertainty. Just as they reached a fork in the path, another tremor shook the ground, and rocks began to fall from above. "This way," she yelled, pointing down the left tunnel, which appeared less blocked than the right. They sprinted into the tunnel, the air thick with dust and the smell of damp earth. "Keep moving," Mr. Ellis shouted, encouraging everyone to quicken their pace. As they ran, Jenny could hear the distant sound of water dripping, a faint reminder that they were still in the heart of the mountain. Suddenly, they came to a small chamber where the path split again. In the center, a shallow pool glimmered under the faint light from their flashlights. "This isn't right," Sarah exclaimed, her panic rising. "Stay calm," Mr. Ellis said. "We must have taken a wrong turn." He looked around, trying to retrace their steps in his mind. Just then, Jenny noticed a narrow opening to the left, barely visible behind some rocks. "What about that?" she suggested, pointing. "It might lead us out." With little time to spare, they squeezed through the narrow opening, the cool air brushing against their skin as they pushed forward. They could hear the rumble of the cave still echoing behind them, driving them onward. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they saw a faint light ahead. "There!" Jenny shouted, her heart pounding with hope. They rushed toward the light, feeling a surge of energy as they neared the exit. With one final push, they emerged into the daylight, stumbling out of the cave and onto the grassy slope outside. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden light across the landscape. They collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath, relief flooding over them. "We made it," Sarah exclaimed, laughter mingling with tears of relief. "Thank goodness," Jenny said, her heart still racing. She turned to Mr. Ellis, gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you for guiding us. I couldn't have done it without you." He smiled, a twinkle of adventure still in his gaze. "It was a team effort. Now, what do we do with the treasure?" Just then, the conductor and some of the other passengers emerged from the forest, relief washing over their faces. They had been worried about the delay and had come to find the group. "What happened?" the conductor asked, concern etched on his face. Jenny and Sarah exchanged glances before Jenny began to explain. "We found Anna's treasure, but the cave collapsed behind us. We barely made it out." The group gathered around, captivated by their story. "We need to return for the treasure," Sarah insisted. "It belongs to the people of this town, and it should be shared." Mr. Ellis nodded. "Yes, we'll come back with proper tools and make sure it's preserved." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the atmosphere was electric with newfound camaraderie. They all felt like part of something larger, united by their shared adventure. With the train still stuck on the tracks, the conductor decided to make camp for the night. They set up a fire and prepared to share their stories under the starlit sky. Laughter echoed through the air, blending with the crackling of the fire as they passed around snacks and recounted their experiences. As Jenny sat beside Sarah, watching the flames dance, she felt a sense of fulfillment. She had embarked on this journey seeking adventure, but what she had found was much more profound: a community, friendships, and a connection to the past. "Do you think Anna would have been proud?" Jenny asked, turning to Sarah. "I think she'd be delighted," Sarah replied, her eyes shining. Her spirit lives on in those who seek adventure and kindness. As the fire burned low, Jenny felt a warmth spreading through her heart. She knew this was just the beginning of many adventures to come. Together, they would return for the treasure, but tonight, they celebrated the journey they had shared. The Midnight Express had brought them together, and now they were all part of a story that would be told for generations. With dreams of future explorations swirling in her mind, Jenny closed her eyes, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and excitement for the adventures that lay ahead. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. You are awesome.